Guys, it's a little bit after 7:05, and just thanks for carving out some time. I don't know if 7 o'clock this side of the Continental Divide works for everybody, but it seems to. And just we want to kind of do these quarterly, unless there's an emergency or somebody has a special prayer request. But I just really, if we could just start out with prayer, obviously, and move into just around the Hollywood squares there, just where you're at, what's going on in your life. And we'll introduce each other, but let's pray. Father, thank you for today. We pray especially for those people that are driving while doing Zoom.
Amen.
We pray for wisdom. God help them. And we just thank you today. And for the conversation where it's going to lead us and take us. We're just really excited to see our friends. And, we just really love each one of these people. We really do. We ask you to bless them, God, in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. My name's Steve Lummer, and I'm a grandfather. I get to do what I've been wanting to do for many years with the outdoor community. And so my church is doing good that I handed off. They've had visitors every Sunday for the past 5 Sundays. So it's just really great to see that. And so I wanted to go around just tell us who you are. And let's start out with Lauren Wilson, who I just had tacos with on, Tuesday. And he is in Flagstaff, Arizona, and an athlete, an outdoor adventurer. And he is our pivot person for our Zion National Park trip in May. So Lauren, just tell us a little bit about yourself, buddy.
Okay, yeah. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to meet you guys. So, how in depth do you want me to go, Pastor Steve?
Well, let's do the Reader's Digest version.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
So, I live in Flagstaff, Arizona. I moved here November of 2020. I lived in Austin, Texas before that for 13 years. I'm studying for the CPA exam. So for my job right now, I am an accountant, and I'm also a fitness coach. So I train a couple people. I'm very passionate about just helping people become happier and healthier. And so that's what I kind of do for work, for fun. I just like anything outdoors. So I like to run, mountain bike, rock climb, hike, anything outside. Like, I'm definitely game to do that. It's just where I feel happiest and most alive personally. And then, I met Pastor Steve through Urban Hope Church. So I started going to Urban Hope back in June of 2022. And now I am just involved in the young adults there. And I'm involved in the church, and whatever Pastor Adam and Tosh asked me to do, I pretty much try to be available to do it. And I love it. It's a great family to be a part of. So.
Fantastic, Lauren. Just welcome. It's so good to have you with us. How old are you?
I'm 32. Yeah.
Yes. How many of you guys wish you were 32 again? Beautiful, buddy. Hey, Steve, is that Steve Pacoda?
Yeah. I just joined a couple minutes ago. Yeah.
Great, Steve. I know we had the campfire time. It was just wonderful to listen and lean into your life and your missions work, and you're in Washington State, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit, introduce yourself to those who don't know you.
Steve Pacoda, live in Seattle. I was pastoring here for 12 years at Calvary Christian Assembly, which is the church I actually grew up in. So that was the last, my ministry was kind of divided into 3/3. I planted a church in the U District in Seattle and pastored there for 12 years. Then went to Germany for 18 and did campus ministry and marriage encounter and church planting over there. And then came back and pastored my home church, which actually was probably the most challenging responsibility of all of the 3. And in some ways the least satisfying, which is a little weird because we had so much social capital in that church, but it was more, it wasn't as fruitful as we hoped. It was great in a lot of ways. Anyway, that was 3 years ago now, almost 3 years ago. I stepped down in June of 19. Yeah, it is 3 years ago. Yeah, anyway, I'm losing track. Is it 4 years ago? Anyway,
You stepped down pre-COVID.
I stepped down pre-COVID, and I missed the whole COVID thing at the church in leadership. So I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, the joke is you're smarter than me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So,
yeah.
but now we're caring for an aging parent at home, 94-year-old mother-in-law with dementia issues. So that takes up a huge amount of time. And I just came from, we have a rental house. The first house we bought when we got married, I just came from there. I've been working nonstop ever since coming home from the Desert Fathers, trying to get it ready for the rental market. It had been rented for basically for 30 years to one single person and then a couple. So for 30 years, really nothing was done on it. So I've done everything in just the last couple of weeks here, and it's crazy. I'm still setting toilets, but it's in the market. So people were coming by as I was trying to get work done, and they're, oh, let me see it. And oh my goodness. So rental market up here is nuts.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of demand. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So yeah.
So
anyway,
good.
I'm beat. I'm so tired, and I haven't eaten anything all day, so I am starved.
Go eat. Go eat.
If you need
No. It's okay. I said
cool.
I'd do this.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to see you. Great to reconnect with you.
Yeah,
Dave,
thank you, Steve.
Dave Gable, are you traveling still? What are you doing? What's going on in your life?
No, I'm healing up from the last trip. Pennsylvania Dutch potato patch I came out of, and been involved at several different levels of ministry in the Assemblies of God, which included National Chi Alpha Direction, and I used to take campus ministers out to teach them how to backpack. We went to Wheeler Peak area in New Mexico. We did a week up in the Absarokas on the east side, northeast corner of Yellowstone, and we did one down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And so I've always been involved, and now after doing a bunch of other things, I discover you guys that are actually incorporating this officially into the ministry, and you're about the only thing that makes me want to be young again too. I love being the age I am, but to see that you guys have the possibility of incorporating outdoor stuff right into your ministry, I want to do everything I can to encourage this to keep on going, because God talks to the inside when we get it to the outside. I love your line on that. And Steve, finding first the Steve that's up in that corner and then the Steve that's up in that corner has been, man, I am so thrilled to discover this fellowship, and I thank God for you.
Wow, you're so encouraging, Dave. And we celebrated, what was it, your 81st birthday?
81st, yes.
81st.
Man,
yes.
That was awesome.
Yeah, baby.
I had a better time than my bones did. I hope Caleb enjoys that mattress.
Oh, he will. Definitely. Love you, buddy. We really do. Hey, Bill, up there driving. Can you talk while you're driving? Chew gum?
Yeah. I'm driving. If you know the San Joaquin Valley, you guys, it's a straight shot from Bakersfield to Sacramento. I'm driving that. Okay. I said when I got on the call with Steve, I'm driving out of one snowstorm down in the LA area, has been hit by probably the biggest storm they've had ever. And now I'm driving. I live up in the Sierra Nevada, and it's snowed 4 feet already. It's going to snow 2 more. So I'm in the valley. There's no snow here. I know Dave, and I know Dave Gable and Steve Pacoda for years, and we joined together with Steve Loomer at the Desert Fathers. My wife and I have been overseas for almost 35 years. worked in Asia, worked in Eastern Europe, worked in Oxford. I'm an old mountain bum, ski bum, climbing guide, built sailboats. And so when I hooked up with Steve Loomer, I knew I'd met a friend, man. That's all there was to that.
Mm.
So just really enjoyed hanging out with the Desert Fathers. I do a lot of work with men internationally and here in the States. So work with an outfit, Richard Rohr's Illumin. But yeah, I'm just trying to get to Sacramento, and then hopefully I can get home. I was stuck in LA for 2 days, and I've never in my wildest dreams thought I'd get stuck in Los Angeles due to a snowstorm.
Right.
Just unbelievable. Anyway, I'm driving and it may go in and out. So go on over to the next guy.
All right. Super cool. Hey, Stephen Holly, what in the world? We talked a little bit about 2 weeks ago. And so we got West Coast and we've got East Coast, and the East Coast has better weather than California right now. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm up in New England in Massachusetts. We normally get snow, but we had our really big snowstorm of the year so far, and we had an inch, which is crazy. My snowblower hasn't even started this year yet. I don't even know why, but I'll take it. I mean, spring is either going to be delayed or come quickly, one of the two. But Dave Gable's my hero. When I'm 81, I want to be out hiking and camping still. Yes. So, yeah, he's your inspiration for me.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, up here, I've been on the Cape for 18 years. I hit 18. Wait, it's 2000. What year is it? 23? Oh, 19 years. I hit 19 years this month.
Wow.
And yeah, trying to. Straddling two ministries, pastoring a church here, and then trying to start ministry to hikers. And really my goal in my current traditional church is I'm working on some projects so that when eventually I hand it over, it's in very good shape. So we got a couple of building projects going on, leadership training happening. The crazy thing is, because my mind shift has shifted and I'm giving stuff away now, the church has become healthier. So now it's it's a fun place to be now. And I'm like, wow, do I really want to give this up? But anyway, so but I'm straddling those two. Hiking stuff is kind of at a minimum right now. It's just the weather is prohibitive. Well, it's not prohibitive. I don't have the gear to continue the hiking. I'd have to buy all new gear here. So but yeah, gearing up for ministry beginning in May with through hikers. For us, the big season will be end of June, July, August, and into the first part of September. That'll be the heavy ministry months for us. But I'm super excited to it. And hey, if anybody has an inkling to want to hike the Long Trail with me, it's the entire state of Vermont. It's only like 3 to 4 weeks. Call me. I want to do it, but I want to do it with somebody. So Unger, come up here. We'll hike the Long Trail together. So yeah, that's and I have a new bucket list. My wife and I traveled to Israel in January.
Yeah. And
Israel has the Israel National Trail, and it goes the entire length of the country through historical sites and everything.
Wow.
And
that's cool.
That's a bucket list. That's somebody says, what is your greatest takeaway from Israel? I was like, they have a trail I want to hike. So anyway, yeah. So that's what's going on with Steve Holly. I'm married, 3 adult children, 2 grandsons and a granddaughter on the way who's due in June. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome, Steve. Yeah, I think if you would lead that tour to Israel, it would be one of the most unique Israel trips that ministers take. And I would sign up for that one instead of being in a bus with 40 people.
Yeah, right.
So it's a little over 600 miles. So it's like it's like a 2-month trip, but
like the Arizona trip. Yeah.
I think we could do it.
That'd be cool. Super cool. Derek and June, Nanki. Hello. I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you again.
It has been a while, Steve. Very good to see you. We've been busy, I think. Yeah. church was absolutely amazing today. Couldn't ask for a better service from Dave. And we have snow here as well. I shoveled about an inch today, not 8 feet off the roof. But Bear is my hometown, so I get that. We something so exciting. We got our taxes done. Okay, that's not exciting, right? But, especially being 1099 employee. But our tax lady will do our nonprofit for us for free after tax season. And that's just huge because I started stressing about that. How am I going to do this? And looking at all the paperwork and everything involved in that. So that was a huge blessing right there for us. So we're working on getting that started. But anyway, we are, well, I know most of these faces on here, which is awesome. And you've heard the story of us wanting to do our Fire by Night, the marriage, campfire marriage. I don't know, what do you call it? Ministry, yeah. Falling into place. We actually, with Jeff Peterson and Eric, I don't know Eric's last name, a relationship, a small group right now, seeing them on Zoom. So just amazing connection that we made just going to Death Valley of all places, right? And so we're doing that with them, learning a ton. And Caleb and his wife came over for dinner a couple weeks ago. Derek barbecued some big old juicy steaks up for them, and got to fellowship with Caleb, and we're praying for them to see if they're wanting to move over to Prescott. And from where are they? Pine Top, I think. So that was really neat. And I don't know, it just kind of, it feels so good to connect. And then just seeing these on here, Kat and Nolan and all of you guys. Dave, I love hearing your voice. I was reading your post about your bones in voice. I can hear it. Love it. But we here, we've got Derek's got 2 teenagers. I've got my son over in Orlando. We're gonna go in a week and a half and hit up the 90-degree weather and enjoy Disney World. So that's what we're up to.
Nice. Awesome. Great to see you guys. Fantastic. Really is. Underwear. You're in a home. You're not in your van.
I am in a home at the moment, not in my van. You're right.
Tell us what you're doing. What's going on? Are you in band right now with the Howells?
No. I'm still
Okay.
with the Climbers for Christ crew.
Okay. Tell us what's going on, buddy.
Yeah, so I am I'm a dirtbag this week. I've been trying to climb as much as possible, and in between all that, I've been talking for hours upon hours about new vision and new mission and continued mission with Climbers for Christ, which is headquartered out of here in Bend. And so I got to sit with the leadership, and there was about 21 of us, I think, that had to sit through all that. And I know all of you guys have sat through those moments in your churches and whatnot, and we got to do that with Climbers for Christ. So today was the culmination of it all, and it still looks messy to me, but that's not up to me to figure out. So but new roles and role definitions and all that stuff. So I'm super excited because I know that this work is also geared towards seeing people know Jesus.
That's awesome. So tonight we're going to just spend 2 hours on our core values and coming up with them.
Yeah.
I love you, man. Comic relief.
Perfect.
Hey, Nolan and Kat, are you
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for calling us.
Yes. Are you guys still driving, Nolan, Kat?
I am driving. Kat jumped out to grab some food.
Okay. Tell us what you guys are doing.
Sorry about that, Steve.
No worries.
Yeah, so we are up in Bend, Oregon. My wife and I are currently, we have our own business. I do tech rescue and emergency medical work. And I met Steve, like, it feels like forever ago in a good way. I think it was about 7 years ago, and just fell in love with the mission. And yeah, been just trying to help him with his ministry ever since. So as I think Steve said it, I'm one of his Sherpas. I just make sure everybody comes back alive.
Yes, thank God. We love you, man. I love you. We need to get, hi, Kat. Tell us what you're doing besides getting food. It's great to see you.
Freezing.
Is it cold? Where are you? Are you in Bend?
Redmond.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, not much. Just, you know, being whatever support I can be.
No. You're
Everything
awesome.
that we got going on.
Are you still freeze drying food?
Yeah, yeah. I've got elderberries in there right now.
Yes.
I'm gonna powder up and turn into some gummies.
Nice. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Dave Brown from Des Moines was going to try to get on here. He's a pastor, but he's in the Ozarks, and he has some kind of interest in homesteading, using a ministry of homesteading to people. And so he's an equestrian guy, but I don't know if he's going to be on here. Hey, tonight, here we are at 7:30, and we've got some veterans here, and we have some newbies here as well. I was hoping Caleb could be on the call, but I think he's out in an igloo somewhere in the snow. I wanted to give us just a little bit of conversation starter stuff, if we could. Are you guys good with that? And tonight I wanted to talk and have a conversation around a digital campfire, if you will, of shifting the story from unbelief to belief in your ministry, shifting the story. And I really have been on this quest for ourselves, for Brenda and I, at age 65 now, as we just morphed into Steve and Brenda 2.0, of stepping out of our comfort zone and launching into something that we've not done for the last 4 decades. And that's, I'm a missionary now. So I've been a church planter, which is similar, but I wanted to talk to us about fundraising, being fully funded, if we could. And some of you guys have been through that, so we could glean from you. I wanted to talk to us and have a conversation around protecting your ministry with insurance, outdoor adventure insurance. And then, and I know, Ryan, you just got out of one of those meetings. So, but I think it's really important that we talk about being funded, having insurance to protect your ministry and the people that follow you. And then the last one was just throwing out a couple of things on nonprofits, how that you can utilize that stuff. So my first introduction to being fully funded was through, what's the gal's name, Barnett, she's the YWAMer out of Hawaii, that she did the fundraising book called Friend Raising. And I thought it was just genius, we're friend raising, we're not fundraising. And she had talked about the 4 pillars of friend raising. Steve, you probably, and then Dave, for sure, you've heard this. And that is, the first pillar would be intimacy and relationship building with people. And so it's not about fundraising, it's about friend raising. How many of you guys have been through this before? Show of hands.
Yeah.
Yep. So friend raising is about building relationships with people, not for their money, but literally to invest into them and be a friend to them. The second pillar, she goes, is interdependence, a mutual love and sharing and bearing one another's burdens. In fact, if you're getting a phone call that says, hey, will you pray with me on this issue? I had a friend ask for prayer for his daughter. He had pipes break in his house and water was all over the place. And his wife was struggling with some, I think, a disc rupture. And when he had reached out to me with that what that meant was there's an interdependence there. And there's a building of relationship. She also talks about generosity and communication, and then being a good steward of the money that God has given you through them. And then she also talked about prayer with promises. So that's the whole friend raising thing. And then the other one was, her name is Mary Vallon. Has anyone ever heard of Mary Vallon? Has anyone ever heard of the American Cancer Society?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever experienced the ice bucket challenge with the MLS? Remember that one?
Yeah, I remember that.
How about the polar plunge? Has anyone ever heard of the polar plunge?
Mhm.
Mary was the marketing director for those organizations.
Mm.
And she's helped raise billions of dollars through just her ability. Now she's got an amazing podcast. If you're interested in podcasts for fundraising, it's called Fully Funded Academy. Fully Funded Academy. You can join the school for, I think it's $900 unending, or you can join it for, I don't know, $600 for a year or $40 per month. And I'm not here to promote Mary's deal, but she has literally just opened my eyes and my spirit towards a couple of things. And that is that her first statement in anything she says is, you have got to believe that God has called you and only you to do what only you can do. No one else is going to do you. And no one else can do the ministry that God has called. Nobody. There is only one Ryan Unger in the planet. One. And she says, you've got to believe in what God's called you to do. Kind of a personal story for me is that I was at a men's group a couple of months ago, and I asked for prayer requests. And they, my wife stubbed her toe. My cat is not feeling good, how we do. And I said, I would like to be on a radar of a gift, and just to launch us. But I'm like, who's going to give to Trailhead Tacos? I did that doubt. I threw the doubt, and I rained on my own parade, right? And a friend of mine pointed his finger in my face and said, you need to stop that. And he was literally doing the biblical rebuke. And I said, what are you talking about, Mark? He goes, you need to start believing in what God's called you to do. And I'm like, oh, I'll accept that. And so all day it was just, I was marinated in this whole rebuke, right? You guys tracking with me? And I went on a mountain bike ride and in the snow on my fat bike. And it was a repentant ride. It was just asking for forgiveness. And God was doing something in me. And literally I said, speaking of Jesus, I said, sir, I want to apologize to you for not having enough faith. Please forgive me. And in 5 seconds, my phone buzzed me with a text that it was the largest amount of gift I've ever been given. And I put my bike in the snow and I knelt down and I just wept. See, it's about what I was rebuked about not believing. And then the repentant heart. And then I don't know the turn of events up in heaven, but for me, it was real. And he taught me a lesson there that I have to believe. God cannot give to a doubter. And so tonight we're talking about trust, faith, confidence in someone or something, and that's belief. So what is your dream? What is God calling you to do? The first thing that Mary says is you've got to believe that in yourself, not in a prideful way, but believe in yourself that you're the only person that's going to do Hiker Church. No one else is ever going to do that, Steve, except your successor. And you're setting up your church right now, and you're learning some things about setting up your church for succession that someday you can have those principles to give succession to Hiker Church or divvy it out some way. So just believing. The other one is stewardship of the calling and the person that God created you to be. And again, all of us here, Bill, you're driving in snow, and every one of us on this Zoom call, we're all like snowflakes. We're a bunch of snowflakes, aren't we? There's no other snowflake like you. You know, you are the only Dave Gable. There will not be another Dave Gable. And so we've got to steward. This is Mary out of Fully Funded Academy. We've got to steward in this precious gift called you, because no one's going to do it. And then the thing she says is we have to win. Hiker Church has to win. Fire by Night Ministries has to win. No one's doing that. Nobody. You are the only ones. Who are you going to say, oh, we can't do it because there's somebody else is doing it? Nobody's doing that. Nobody with your unique personality, Lauren, is going to minister to trail runners and Flagstaff and all those groups around the country like that. And so we have to win. It's not a prideful thing, but we have to win. The other thing she says is, how can I have to be the biggest cheerleader of what God's called me to do. Very few times have I ever had a phone call, maybe with the exception of Dave Gable, and that they would say, hey, I just want to call you today because I believe in you. How many have had that? Couple, every once in a while. But you've got to be the biggest cheerleader of what God's called you to do. Mary also.
Stubbed my toe.
I stubbed my toe. Did you really? Did you really? Brian? He must have. Really,
yeah, sorry about that.
You really stubbed your toe?
I did. I have my mic on. My bad.
See, there's not another Ryan. You're one in a million right there. So you got to be your biggest cheerleader. Another one she says is build your own storybook inventory. That's what the campfire is about, is building your storybook inventory of the marriages that have been healed, of the suicide prevention in Damascus, and building that story, see? And that's that storybook that you're building your inventory. People, next Sunday I preach in Lake Havasu City, and I'm going to tell 3 stories in that church. And then we're going to take them out on, I think it's a trail called Sarah's Crack. I'm going to hike Sarah's Crack. I didn't make up the name. You Google it and it's called Sarah's Crack. So we're going to hike Sarah's Crack, and then we're going to set up the taco rig. And I'm going to believe God for some amazing stories in 2023 on those trailheads. So I'm building my storybook inventory. Let's say that together. Building my storybook inventory. I love it, man. And then the other one is that you are worthy of your wages. It's biblical. 1 Timothy 5:18. The laborer is worthy of his hire. Mm-hmm. And I know we don't, so I've raised money for missions and other things and other organizations, but when it comes down to raising money for myself, I'm like, it's a tough one. So let's just talk for a minute about fundraising. I know we're all doing that, except for, maybe you're retired, but if you are retired and you've been in the point of the spear of fundraising, talk to us a little bit about that. I think Mary Vallon is one of the greatest resources she's a millennial. She's got some great resources. She's got a book out and a podcast and her university. I think it's a great thing. But anybody have anything to say on fundraising, becoming fully funded?
I got something, Steve.
Go, Nolan, how?
I was kind of joking, but half serious when we were talking about it down in Death Valley. I told you, I said, I wanted to pay for dinner for you so that God understood that I was the person that he could just feed money through so I could bless your ministry and others. So first of all, I still believe that. I want to be that person. But secondly, I didn't mention it. I also have a nonprofit, and so I do a lot of fundraising with that. And one of the things that I found out, and I haven't really tapped into this well, but millionaires and billionaires all know each other. They're very tight. They have lots of friends within their circle, and they all have money. And so if you can find one of those and they can tell their friends to give, then all of a sudden you have access to a lot of money and you can fully fund real quick. I've just been let know that I have a few connections with some multimillionaires that I'm trying to strategically reach out to figure out how to get their money. And one of the things that I found out is that people like to give towards projects, not just give towards your ministry.
Yeah.
And that's a hard one when I need funds to pay the bills and people only want to give to a project. But what I have to remind myself is sometimes there's excess from the project that can help pay the bills. So I don't know if that helps, but that's what I've been dealing with.
That is such a strategic conversation right there. And Mary has a podcast where she says how you can minister to millionaires. I thought that was really good. Her other one was how to talk to pastors that will stun them about your ministry. And so my whole job this year is to dive into this stuff, because I would love it if Outdoor Nations Network could pick up missionaries like around this square right here and help fund them. So that's my goal, is to go beyond just my own fundraising and to get into the level where we can pick up a Caleb Brock out of Wild 38, or some of these young people such as Lauren that has this dream to have an accounting firm and a gym next door. So, you know, those types of things that if God can fund through you, not just to you, then you can be used greatly for other people that have the same passion. Anyway, that blah, blah, blah. I'm just really passionate about it right now. Go ahead, Stephen.
Hey, Steve, if some of those like podcasts or things that you listen to that really hit the nail on the head, would you be willing to like send out a link to those?
Yes, I most definitely will. In fact, I'm going to put it in the chat right now. Okay. I'll put down the, oh, there's the debrief from Death Valley. Thank you guys. That was awesome.
But it would just help. I know it would help me in the sense that I don't have a lot of excess time to listen to a lot of podcasts and find the nugget. So if people hear of nuggets that are just, man, that was really good, just sending out a link or a like, hey, everyone, you guys should listen to this, it's good, would be super helpful.
Definitely will, buddy. I'll text you that information, or anybody else that needs it. I think that Mary has got to be, Chi Alpha hired her for 5 years to train their Chi Alpha ministry students, leaders. So she's up there. So I just put that in the chat, fully funded academy. Anyone else have anything? Steve Bakota, that was your life. You just raised money your whole life out of, you know.
Well, I not quite as long as the laughing driver man there, but but yeah, I mean, I think one of the great advantages that we had as Assembly of God missionaries is we did have that structure that where there was pretty much an assumption that we could call any church in the network and ask them for a service. And you know, it was the old-fashioned way of doing it, and but it actually worked if you'd built relationships with people over the years.
Yep.
You could call them up, and you know, the whole system worked together. A lot of us had gone to the same school, for example. We all went to Northwest College, so we knew each other from college. So now I'm calling them up as a fellow pastor, and then saying, hey, you know, can I have a service? And so that, you know, having the service was the in terms of raising the funds. And for me, almost all of the fundraising really was through churches. I mean, there were definitely individuals who supported us, but the lion's share came through the churches. And so that opportunity to get to the church, share your vision, tell them exactly like you were saying, tell them why what you're going to do is unique to God's calling in your life, and no one else is going to be able to do exactly what you're doing in the same way. Of course, a lot of that is, I mean, you're blowing smoke at first because you haven't even done it yet. You know, you're not
making it up as you go.
making it up. Yeah. But you know, I guess there's a certain sense of divine boldness or divine craziness that's like, you just trust God that, boy, he really is going to use you in a unique way. And so, yeah, and then God fills in the blanks, the strategic part of it, the timing. Like when we went to Germany, the timing was exactly perfect. We got there the very week that they were first letting people were escaping from Yugoslavia into Austria, and it was pre the wall coming down, but it was the first little break. People were coming through Austria and then taking the train ride. Well, they were in the Hungarian embassy, I think is how it started out. But anyway, yeah. So we ended up having an opportunity to minister to East Germans that, you know, we never thought was going to happen. And the whole Iron Curtain blew up just as we were getting to Germany. It was a pretty amazing time to be there. But anyway, that's so God fills in the blanks. But we do, yeah, that confidence that, hey, this is God's going to do something special. And
yes.
And just getting that opportunity to tell that story is so essential.
I love it.
I'd add to it, Steve. You know, I had at some points had to raise. So one year I raised $1 million, and
Wow.
that was just a year straight. I spoke. I think I spoke over 300 times that year. And there were years that I look back on all this now, and sometimes I was always in crisis situations overseas, you know, Cambodia. So one of the things Steve and I both know about the change in politics. People are looking for compelling stories, but you must, if it's a compelling story, you have to do it with character, and you have to do it authentically with who you are. And people will, we used to have to speak, you know, I spoke to Rotary clubs. I mean, soup to nuts. I spoke to anything that was an audience. But now I know enough I don't have to go out and beat the bushes like I used to, but I know this whole thing now is you've got to get technically savvy and run like I have a friend, you got to do like a friend of mine runs a WhatsApp group with about 300 people. And every time you get a note from him on WhatsApp, it's an individual note. And he's doing something very compelling. He's my age and he's building schools for poor children in Cambodia. But I called Mark and said, this is cool, man. You've got it set up. We just send out a little 10-15 second video or something every day. But I'm learning from a lot of the guys that are like in their 30s now. You know, you must become really good with social media and work it. And it's networks. Like I was with people this weekend in Orange County. I've known Dave Gable for what, Dave, 30 plus years. And, you know, I was bumping into people this weekend that go, oh yeah, I know so-and-so. I know so-and-so. The other thing I'd say to add to this is what Nolan said about major donors. It's a different world when you work with major donors. You screw up once and you can be done. So I used to work with an outfit that raised lots of money with golf events, and they'd bring us in to speak. But you've got to get it right with a major donor. And I'm really glad to hear you talking about this podcast, because that's when you can mess up and that will come down on your head. That's not like a church. If you're talking to I had a guy in Scottsdale that gave us over 3 million for Cambodia.
Wow.
He's still giving, but we nearly lost him because one of our people in the field made a boo-boo. So that's the stakes go up because people that are major donors and have significant wealth, they have real criteria about what they'll give to. So I was really glad to hear about this resource you talked about.
Yeah, I don't know. I never met this man that gave a major gift to us. Never met him.
Yep, don't have to. Your
It's
reputation will touch those guys.
interesting. Good stuff, Bill. Hey, is Jeff Peterson going to Illumin in Washington?
I think so. I've been in touch with him. I'm definitely going and serving as a returning elder. I think he's going.
And that's rites of passage.
That's the elders' rites of passage in Econe Ranch. I think that's May 26th or something like that.
All right. Any of you guys interested in Bill's Illumin work? Man, I will connect you with him for sure, or someone will. Brother Gable, you've been in Cayalfa.
Brother Gable.
Brother Gable.
Father
Gable.
Gable.
Oh, Father Gable.
I'm not called to guys that are rich, but I have met with people who are, and I understand the difference. And one of the best single line comments from a guy whose ministry is to people that are rich is the most valuable thing they have to them is their time.
Yeah, that's right.
Get to the point really quickly when you're ministering. When you are, don't take their time with baloney, hit them with what the core of what you have to say. The other comment is, I love the thing about build your own storybook inventory. I just now completed last night my final edit of a book on Luke, which is a verse-by-verse analysis of the Greek of Luke. But if that sells, it's going to be something that I've added. I tell over 200 stories in the midst of all the verse-by-verse stuff. 200 stories out of my life of what we did, what went well, what did not go well. Some of them are a little different. Some of them are very holy and some of them aren't. So if the book sells, it'll probably be because of the stories, and you keep those, track of those and use those. It may be the first Assembly of God book to use the word shit. I don't know, might be.
Is it on the cover? Is it on the cover?
No, it's not on the cover. I promise you, after my years of working there, occasionally that word was said at headquarters.
That's so good,
my son, Steve, I told you about the show, right? He wrote this show, sold out. He's been invited now to do it at the Fringe, the LA Fringe. So the title, forgive my French, is Missionary Positions, a recovering Christian's Guide to Getting Lost. And it is aimed right at the 35 to 40-year-old demographic, kids that grew up and burned out on church. And it was phenomenal, the show he did. But pithy, write your copy. Get with a copywriter for your important lines. Somebody knows how to write copy for, boom, what's it going to say?
Where do you find a copywriter?
Oh, you probably know one. They're people who write for a living.
Okay. Awesome. Divine boldness. The most valuable thing wealthy people have is time. Get to the point.
Yeah.
It's like a 2-minute elevator speech is all you have.
That's it.
Is that right? 2 minutes to break
on the
down?
situation.
Yeah. And that's a challenge.
Or Steve, you take them on a fly fishing trip to Montana and make sure they have fun. You don't have to ask them for any money. Take them on a trip like that. I raised money doing fly fishing trips.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to do that.
I know it's terrible, but I didn't have to pitch the ministry once they had fun fly fishing.
Yeah, this is an intriguing conversation. It's not your normal, just what's going on, but I'm learning so much. I'm learning so much around this campfire. Ryan, man, tell us how to raise millions.
Millions,
right.
Let me tell you.
Brazilians.
Brazilians. Yeah, I would say, some of the big lessons I've learned over the years, and Steve, you guys are both part of this. You have not because you ask not.
Yeah.
And Steve, we were all sitting on a Zoom call last year, and that was another like shaking moment in my perception is, well, I've got this need, who wants to take care of it? And you guys are part of taking care of that need. And it was a huge need in my world. Like I needed four new tires on my van, on my home. And this community here took care of that. And so
That's cool.
Amen.
And so I got
Great.
slapped in the face again because I have not, because I asked not.
That's so good.
And so
good.
Yeah. So who wants to take care of gas for my vehicle this next year?
What's that budget? What's that?
I haven't even looked at it. I keep on feeding the monster.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you ask, they will ask this question Steve just gave you. Know what you're asking for.
Ooh,
I
that's
need
so good.
25,000. Brian answers that. Brian, $25,000. You don't have to think about it. Just give them a number.
Yep.
Give them a number. Tell them. They'll know if you're blowing smoke at them. But tell them a number.
That's so
I
good.
need this amount.
That was one of the advantages of being in a missionary system, like with the Assembly of God, is you had people who were pushing you the whole time saying, look, you've got to have a budget of $8,000 a month, and this is what goes into it. And you're not going to go to the field unless you raise that money. And
That's right.
You could go with real confidence to the donors and say, look, I'm called to minister through the Assembly of God. That's my sending agency. And these are the demands that they are placing on me, and they make sense. And and this is how you can help me to get there. So it was really concrete.
Good.
Derek and June, what's your budget for the next year for Fire by Night?
You can't hear me. Derek's touching all the
We had
buttons.
technical difficulty.
Hey, what's your budget for this first year, your first launch? I think you're going to do an event in May.
Yeah, Cinco de Mayo is what we're shooting for the first one.
Ooh, I'll come up and serve you tacos.
What do you say?
I don't know. What'd you say, Steve?
I said I'll come and serve you tacos.
Oh yeah, no, you have a campsite reserved. I forgot to tell you. You most be there.
Do you have a budget? Have you worked on your whiteboard? Have you worked on a budget for Fire by Night?
No, we haven't. When we've thought about asking for donations, it's really been material items. Getting some tents and cots and stuff for the couples that we would have coming. But no, I never even thought to think about a budget yet. This is good information to have. And I guess we're kind of taking baby steps because we don't have the nonprofit yet, so we don't have the ability to really accept anything. But we're tackling that as well, June stated.
Yeah.
Well, I have been probably the negative Nelly on it, because I'm like, well, we can't ask people for money. We don't know what we're doing. So all of this conversation here is fantastic. And then had just incredible scriptures today at church, and 2 Corinthians 5:7, we live by faith, not by sight. That to me just hits home. That's huge. Living by faith. So anyway, I'm going to stop being the negative Nelly over here. And
yeah,
I just don't feel like we have come up with all of our bylaws and visions and whatnot. You get to we need money.
Yeah, Ryan Unger can help you with all the core values stuff. He loves that kind of stuff.
I will
Thanks,
say,
Ryan.
Steve, is that God is fulfilling the needs on his time. You know, I just like you were having those moments of doubt. No one's going to give me money or whatever your doubt was. I started having the doubts of what are we going to talk to people around a campfire about? You know, who are we to have these conversations? And then Jeff Peterson invites us to come be a part of this relationship Zoom meeting every Thursday, reading the DNA of relationships, and anything and everything that we could ever want to discuss with couples is part of that book and a part of that conversation with him. And it just
That's beautiful.
Yeah, just one more example of how amazing God is. And if you say yes and you're open to the opportunities, he'll provide you with what you need, you know, and it's fantastic.
You mean at some point in time, this was all about faith?
All the time, brother.
Yeah. Well, you know, you mentioned how somebody had said something to you that just, you know, snapped and said, hey, get out of your own head, kind of. And so Jeff Peterson did that. I mean, nicely, but sometimes you have to be real and say, hey,
knock it off.
Yeah.
That's good. Hey, Lauren, you're an accountant, and my time with you around some tacos, you are very energetic about helping people with money.
Yeah.
And so from your perspective as an accountant, a guy that does taxes, a guy for people, and does accounting for people, tell us what your thought is on this conversation, please.
Yeah. So I took a bunch of notes. I was listening, and I learned some things as well. So one of the reasons I became an accountant actually is back in Austin, I volunteered at a lot of nonprofits. And one of the nonprofits I worked with for like 7 years was Power for Parkinson's. So I was a fitness instructor, and we did free fitness programs for people with Parkinson's disease and their caregivers. And I saw that start from zero to what it is now. And I don't know how big it is now in terms of donor dollars, but I was a part of it at the start. And then I've read a book on called Pencils of Promise. So that they build schools all over the world. And that book goes into how this 20-something-year-old built his nonprofit, and he had to have these tough conversations when he was like 24 years old, asking for substantial amounts of money. But one of the reasons I became an accountant is because I realized what everyone is talking about now. No matter if you're a for-profit entity or a nonprofit entity, you have to know how money works. You have to know how business works, or you cannot expand your mission.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. A lot of people, they hear the words nonprofit and all of a sudden business goes out the door, when it's actually, you almost need more of a business mindset in a nonprofit than a for-profit entity, because in a for-profit, there's not as much regulation, right? It's a more competitive market. In a nonprofit, with compliance and everything else, there's more rules. And if there's more rules, the game is harder, right? The game that you're playing is harder. And so that was kind of the first thing that I wanted to say is marketing. You're putting on your for-profit hat. It's like, what does a for-profit company do when it's marketing? Well, the first thing it does is it identifies its value proposition. So what am I providing the need or the want and the desire to the market? That's the first thing. The second thing is, who is my target? I can't be all things to everybody, right? I have to, who is my main customer that, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I was like, just saw you post that. Who's my main customer? Who are they? Like, right. Like, how old are they? How much money do they make? Where are they hanging out? Are they online? Are they in person? Are they at the trailhead? Are they hiking? Are they biking? Are they at the rock climbing gym? Like, where are these people hanging out? What do they do? And what message resonates with them? What are their desires, their needs, and their wants? And how does my entity fit and fill in those needs and desires? And then from marketing, going over to the donor levels. So right, there's different levels. We talked a lot about the what I call the angels. the people with a lot of money or the corporation. And that's one type of conversation. And really the biggest thing with them, you guys hit a lot of it, but the other thing is the personal story. With Power for Parkinson's, our biggest donors were rich people that had family members that had Parkinson's. And so it just resonated with them so deeply. So you got to find out who these people are, what is their background, what are their relationships like, right? Like as ministers or as pastors, if a rich person's son was saved, was an alcoholic or a drug addict, and they were saved by finding Jesus, they're going to be more likely to donate than another millionaire who doesn't have that testimony right there. And then the level below that is the mass, right? So the masses, and what Pencils of Promises does is they provide you with like a birthday kit. So if you want to raise money for, or you're very passionate about this cause, the nonprofit itself will send you a kit so that you don't have to do anything but plug and play, so that you can raise money for your birthday or for something else. It's really big in, I'm a runner. So how these marathons work is they find a corporate donor that pays for all the cost. And then everything above that, that all the sign-up fee, that's profit. But they find the title corporate sponsor. And so all the money and all the donations goes towards the mission. And right, if I'm running a marathon, I contact the nonprofit that I want to raise money for. They give me the tool, so I don't have to do anything but post on my Instagram. They give me the link. They give me the marketing materials. They give me everything. All I have to do is post it on my stuff and do what I do, which is run. They take care of all the other stuff. I don't have to plan it and do any of the sweat equity. That's the job of the nonprofit. So right, those different levels. How do I get a lot of little donors, and how do I get a few of those big donors? One of the other things we did at Power for Parkinson's was, depending on the level of donor. So everyone at the end of the year got a handwritten note from us, right? Those are dying. That's a dying thing, a handwritten note. We said, hey, Bob, thank you for your $10 donation. So we're not just sending out the tax form at the end of the year that says, hey, write this off. Hey, Bob, we appreciate you. Here's a picture of us doing a Parkinson's class. If you gave more, that looked like more. You got a bigger package. You got more pictures of the instructors and stuff like that. So that was what we did at the end of the year. The other thing, so I haven't worked a lot in corporate jobs because I made it like 3 months and I was like, I can't do this anymore. But a lot of corporations, they have a budget where they have to donate to nonprofits. Like, it's built into their bylaws. And if you look at their public financial statements, like, it's in there. It's a part of their corporate responsibility and stewardship.
Yeah, it's called corporate CSR, corporate
Exactly.
social responsibility.
Yeah, the words were escaping me. I couldn't find it. Thank you. And as a part of that, if, say, I'm very passionate about something as an employee, they'll do a dollar for dollar match up to a certain amount, like $2,000, just depending on the corporation and stuff. So if you can partner with some of these people at these corporations, not only are you going to get their donation, the corporation's going to match it dollar for dollar for dollar. And that kind of goes into finding partners in the community, right? So rather than you just starting at zero, maybe I go find a hiking boot store that wants to partner with me, or I find a rock climbing gym that wants to partner with me. And I say, hey, this is what I'm about. Is there any way I can come talk at your gym? And you're leveraging their resources as well as your own resources. And then the last two more points here. The big thing is transparency. When I give $10, no matter who I am, whether I'm rich or poor, I want to know exactly where my $10 is going. If it's going towards salary, tell me that. If it's going to $10 is going to feed a kid for a year, I want to know that. And so a lot of times on the website, right, they have, if you donate 5, if you donate 10, if you donate 25, this is where it's going to. And then it's the law. All nonprofit 990s are public information. So it's super important just to be upfront about it. don't make me find out and be surprised that my money's going somewhere that I don't want it to go. And so they call it, I can't remember off the top of my head because I haven't done a lot of nonprofit stuff. I think it's called the program expense ratio. And different industries and different types of nonprofits have what's considered a healthy program expense ratio. I think it's like 70 to 80%.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Okay.
I tell you what, brother, I don't know you well. You should write everything down that you have said.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. I've done this for my lifetime. That's as good a summary as you're going to get on a Zoom call, you guys. The information, the great thing about a Zoom call like this that you see is any of you that are starting out. Steve and I started with a mission board, right? But if I was starting a 501c3 now, immediately, like Steve, I would get 3 or 4 people to be part of a board, and get somebody like this young man on your board, because you need a kind of a plethora of people. So all of you that are kind of in the spin it up stages, this is what I learned, because the AG did not let missionaries start 501c3s, but I started coaching people on how to start them because of the frustration I had working with churches. But what is your first name? The guy.
Lauren.
Yes, Lauren.
Lauren,
Yeah.
so you please write down what you have said, because it's a fantastic piece of summary work. And I could use this with people I'm working with. This is great, Steve, that you got this conversation started, because it is the nuts and bolts. No ministry. I have a friend in India that says, I have the vision, I do not have the widget, but the widget is what I have to have. I need the widget. So anybody can get a vision, but to get a widget, you must be working and you must be figuring out what is it that you must do, and you must do it well. Otherwise, sir, they will not be giving. I spent a lot of time in Asia. That's fantastic, fantastic. I just love it. I love hearing people put their heads together. This is Steve, you know, when you and I started out, dude, it was go call the churches.
That was it.
Go call every church you know. Go call every church you know.
And now they have one service a week. And
you can't
that changes things. Yep.
They don't have a service a week. You can't get in the door, man.
Right. You got to go buy coffee. Hey,
coffee.
So seriously, Lauren, we need a synopsis of that. You want to help?
That was wonderful.
You want to help people? Well, here we are. And
we're people.
We're people. And a couple of things. Thank you all for this wonderful. It's really cool to see the arc of generations here, and how it was done in the old days and how it's done in the new days.
Yeah, man.
Wonderful. Insurance. So on your chat, if you need insurance, I think this is important. I think Nolan and Kat and
we're people.
Are people. And a couple of things. Thank you all for this wonderful. It's really cool to see the arc of generations here, and how it was done in the old days and how it's done in the new days.
Yeah, man.
Wonderful. Insurance. So on your chat, if you need insurance, I think this is important. I think Nolan and Kat yanked my chain pretty hard on this, and I needed it. And over the last 10 years of doing outdoor adventure with people, like rappelling and what are you looking at, Nolan? You're the guy that did the double rappel off a Devil's Bridge in Sedona, and that was illegal, totally. You could have been arrested for that. But we've never had anybody die. We've had some broken ankles. Little Erica from Boulder, Colorado, inverted on one of our rappelling off of the wall, and that was kind of freaky. But Jimmy Nowlin saved the day.
Someone once said, it's not an adventure until something goes wrong. Well, on this day,
kind of take
in the
like
Dells.
a stance like so.
Gonna go
All right.
slip.
A little bit
It was
wider.
a great save by
Okay.
Jim
How you
Nowlin.
feeling now?
Okay.
All right.
Amazing.
Lord bless my sister. Give her strength, courage.
Always got to have good guides. Hey, thanks for watching.
Yep.
Hang on to it. Got her, Matt. You got her. Guys. Stand by. Here's your okay. So look at me, Erica. Look at this. And you should not let go with that right hand. Okay. Don't let go of it. I want you just to scoot your body around. Okay. Can you do that? Don't let go of that rope, and you're not going to go anywhere.
You're serious?
I'm serious. You're not going to travel down. I promise you. I promise
can't
you.
do this. I can't do it.
All right. Here's what you're going to do. Stand by.
We've had a couple of close events, but thank God. I mean, the church had a covering through Church Mutual for our events, but Outdoor Nations is insureless right now. So I'm seriously looking into how we can insure and protect the ministry. Right on your chat, here are some things you might want to copy and paste some of these. The waiver and medical information, we do give that out, which really in a court of law, from what I understand from youth ministry, really doesn't mean anything, but at least you've got it. So we send that waiver out, understanding, and the medical, what do you call those prescriptions that people need. There's one here called Insurance to Protect Your Outdoors, insurance plan, evac insurance, waiver, medical information. So I looked up Veracity Insurance, outdoor recreation insurance is there. Church Mutual, who our church had insurance with Church Mutual. They have a whole outdoor office that can help you with insurance in outdoor recreation. And then inexsurance.com is a good one that I've looked at least online. And if Nate Loper was here from Canyon Ministries, you got to bet your bottom dollar they have a good outdoor health insurance, or not health insurance, but just insurance to cover them. So those are all available on your chat if you need them, if you want to look into them. I think it's really important that, at least for the network, Outdoor Nations Network, that we are insured. Now, as I looked at Nolan had shared with me this company called, where did it go?
Are you talking about Dan, the Divers Network?
No,
Or
it's the
evac
one.
insurance?
It's the insurance that evac. They evacuate with helicopters and stuff like that. So anyway, I don't know if I put it on here or not.
There's multiple companies, Steve, but just to clarify for everybody, there's different types of insurances. Insurance for your business or nonprofit or ministry. And then there's evac insurance, which when you're doing kind of your high risk remote areas where you're not 5-10 minutes from a hospital, that's the other kind of insurance we're talking about. And then also having the ability to contact somebody on the outside to even start that process, which Steve, you and I talked about, and hopefully that's changing for your ministry here in the next few days.
Yeah, that little tool, what's that called? An InReach Mini. My first time I'll be out in the middle of nowhere where there's no reception is at the subway in Zion in May. But anyway, thank you for all of that.
Steve, a question for that. So getting insurance versus having somebody say sign a waiver of liability, what would be the best route there? Because you're having to pay for insurance, right? I don't know how much it is, but maybe Nolan, maybe you know the answer to that, but wouldn't a waiver just no?
So a waiver is just reducing some of your possible liability, which is a good thing to do. But the insurance is when you do get sued, there's somebody else paying the bill, not you.
there will be a policy limit that would be covered for that. That's another advantage to getting your nonprofit set up versus doing it personally without a nonprofit. Because if something were to happen and you were to get sued, you know, even if say your insurance policy wasn't large enough for the award that gets handed down or whatever, they would be able to come after you personally, take your home, take your life savings, and all of that stuff, where
Protect
they
you.
wouldn't be taking, they wouldn't be taking the nonprofit to court. They would be taking you personally. So that's another reason to have a 501c3 in place.
Yeah.
And when it comes to lawsuits, they always go after the money, and your insurance company hopefully has a lot more money in a policy than you personally have. So they will leave you alone, hopefully, is the goal, and go after that insurance money from your nonprofit that you paid into a multi-million-dollar policy or something.
Well, I have been on wild trips with Steve. I mean, you know, rescue, wild water rescues. I've flipped over in kayaks, you name it.
Is windburn something that we can sue over? Because every time I go
The other nice thing about the insurance company is they will typically have high-end lawyers, and that you would be assigned a lawyer for your case. So you wouldn't have to necessarily go out and find one. So that can be a good resource.
Yes, I know this is technical, but how many just are glad to have a conversation, man? It's just so good. I'm
That's very good.
so appreciative. If you are wanting, the guy I used for my nonprofit is called Launch My Nonprofit with Trinity Jordan. I think he's a lawyer connected with the Assemblies of God, and he's out of Salt Lake City. And it cost, I think it was $1,000 to set up my nonprofit, but I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I have the nonprofit, and I'm not a 990. I am a church planting entity. So that way you don't have to fill out the 990 and mess up with all that goofiness. Like Steve Holly is a church entity. He's Hiker Church, and churches can look, they don't have to look what we think churches look like. You know, Batterson says there are churches out there that no one's ever thought of before. And so
that's interesting. You're registered with the way the government looks at you is you are a church. You're not a 501c3.
Nope, I'm a church planting entity, yes. And he fought them for 4 months. Trinity Jordan fought the IRS for 4 months on that, and he won. So
interesting.
There's no 990, and that's why, you know, Derek and June, check out your lady there, but Trinity does this all day long with ministries, and I think it's really important to
Steve, what did you have to do? I mean, what were 2 or 3 of the key elements that you had to establish in order for the IRS to accept you as a church?
Yeah, it's about this thick. And you have to have bylaws, which Trinity did for me.
Okay.
You have to have a board of directors. I've got an IE and all that kind of stuff now, but the big one for me was of which Nolan is on that board. And so the big one for me was the bylaws, because, you know, the daunting task of writing a bylaws. Well, he has it boilerplate bylaws for church planting, and he just switches a couple of words here or there. But if you need his number, there it is, launchmynonprofit.com. And one of the things that I'll just put it out there that the U.S. Missions Department will do. Are you guys okay with this? You okay with this transparency? Okay, so gifts given through my U.S. Missions account, obviously there's a half tithe on that money. And then there is a processing fee of 5% per process. Yes, I said 5%.
Mhm.
So I asked them if they would, the AG, if they would send everything to my nonprofit, but they're going to charge me 5% in the halftime, and that's fine. But I just, I would rather get paid through my, what do you call it, my nonprofit than the other way, because half of the donors aren't AG anyway. They don't know what the AG is.
Yeah.
I think it's important that if you are going to be in this for the long haul, which Scott Martin, I just listened to him, says, are you going to be in this for the long haul? Or are you going to quit? So if you're going to be in it for the long haul, set up your nonprofit legitimately. I would suggest. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm glad I did it.
No, that's good.
That making sense, Steve?
Yeah.
He'll give you a bullet point list of what he needs from you. So there's, under the church planting list, it's less complicated, but you can go about your business and just start checking these things off. And then when it comes to big things like the bylaws, it's done for you.
Yeah.
With your name on it. So it's a boilerplate deal. Your board of directors is through relationships. I think Cal Swenson is on that board, my board. He's on the Northern California Church Planners, whatever, for the AG. Nolan's on that. Jesse Key Rose, my former youth pastor, and then my son-in-law, Adam Kling. So I got there's 5 people on my board.
Hey, Steve, just to clarify, because I use the same resource because you recommended for setting up the nonprofit. This is more for the Nankees, I think, more than anybody. It doesn't have to be a religious nonprofit. And there is a difference, I believe, between a religious nonprofit and a church. So if Steve set his up as a church, you can also set it up as a religious nonprofit. But if you choose to set it up as a non-religious nonprofit like I did, you can't do anything religious. You can partner with religious partners and assist them, but your main purpose can't be religious. So just be careful when you're setting that up, that you're following all those, rules and regulations and setting it up correctly with the IRS.
Good stuff. We could go on. Here is Nolan and Katz LLC. I hope I'm saying that right.
Correct. Yep.
And they come alongside your ministry for consulting, of which they've done for me for years now. I feel much better when I have a guy and a gal like Nolan and Kat Howell, because they're adventure medics. So if you can, and that's the relationship. If you have some people that can get you out of a pinch, like Jim Nallen helped Erica off the wall as she was inverted, freaking out. So you've got to have those people. And that was with Madison, Wisconsin Christian High School. So can you imagine if we lost her? I'm done. I mean, I'm going to go move to Australia. So
no, you're gonna move to Russia.
Jail.
Yeah, I'm gonna move to stinking broke. But I have the video. Someone was videoing that when she went over, and she's totally inverted upside down. And Jim went right to her. And says, "Don't let go of that rope. Look at my eyes. You're going to be okay." And he had it, but. And that was through the church. So we had insurance, but now you're on your own. And so these are serious talks. 540 Consulting LLC, or you can get a hold of Nolan and Kat for some of the strategic information. And also then Lauren is going to email me his 16 bullet points of beautifulness. And then I'll send it out to you guys as well. Oh, I feel like we accomplished something tonight.
It's nice hanging out with you guys.
Yeah.
Jeff Henderson has just resigned his church in North Atlanta. He was one of the vice presidents of Chick-fil-A, and he wrote a book called Next. And he has a company called FOR, F-O-R, And Jeff Henderson says this, and I'll leave us with this tonight. He said, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. I thought that was just genius. Oh, so ask, folks, build some relationships, believe in your ministry, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. I love it. Any other final thoughts? We're going to roll. It's 8:30, so we're going to roll. We love you guys. Yes. This is recorded. I can send you the recording of this if you want it. It's an hour and a half. We'll also send you Lauren's stuff. There's a ton of links regarding fundraising. Also, Fully Funded Academy. It's a free podcast, and it's 20 minutes long. It's genius. All right. Cool.
All right. Thanks, guys.
So Steve Loomer, can you just leave me on the call for a second? I got a quick question for you, but just after everybody's gone off, I just want to ask you something.
Sure. Dave Gable, would you pray for us tonight, please, sir?
Our pastor preached today at the 30th birthday of the church.
Yeah.
And he talked about the next 10 years instead of the past 30. And he said, we're going to have to get ready. And one of the key things is, will we recognize the work of God when he begins to move? Because it's going to be different from what it has been. So, Lord, we are looking at something that is taking shape right in front of us, and it's different from anything we've ever experienced.
Amen.
We sense your hand in it, and we crave your blessing, and we look for creativity and integrity and purity from your spirit. And you love to give those. Accept our thanks and our worship. In Jesus' name, amen.